The large spaceship named Dauntless floated in the empty darkness of space. Captain Junho Park stood on the bridge, his face lit by the glow of screens all around him. He was a tall man with short black hair and serious eyes that had seen many challenges during his 15 years of service. Earth had sent its best warship to check on something strange at the edge of our solar system. What they found was not what anyone expected. It was the moment humans would meet aliens for the first time. "Look at the size of that thing," whispered Officer Dae-hyun from his weapon station. The alien ship was huge. It was at least 3 times bigger than the Dauntless. Its outer shell was a dark purple color that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Strange markings covered its hull, unlike any language humans had ever seen. Captain Junho took a deep breath. His training had prepared him for many things, but not this. Still, he kept his face calm. His crew needed to see strength now. "Comms, Officer Hana, please send our greeting message again," he said. Lieutenant Hana Kim nodded, her fingers moving quickly over the glowing control panel. She was young but very good at her job. Her black hair was tied back in a neat bun, and her uniform was perfectly pressed. "Message sent, Captain." "They can hear us, but they're not answering," she said with a slight frown. Science Officer Taiwan looked up from his station. His eyes were wide with worry. "Captain, I'm reading a big energy buildup in what looks like their weapon systems." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Junho's jaw tightened. Earth had hoped for peace, but they weren't stupid. The Dauntless carried the best weapons humans had ever made. There was the Helios Array, a massive weapon that used solar energy to destroy targets. And there were the quantum displacement missiles that could tear things apart at the smallest level. "Everyone to defense stations," Junho ordered calmly. "Turn on the Helios Array, but don't aim it yet. Let's show them we can protect ourselves without looking like we want to fight." The crew moved quickly, pressing buttons and pulling levers. Warning lights began to flash, but not the red of attack, the yellow of readiness. Chief Engineer Ji-woo spoke through the ship's comm system. "Shields at full power, Captain. Helios Array online." Suddenly, the alien ship fired. A bright beam of blue energy shot across the blackness of space and hit the Dauntless. The whole ship shook hard. People grabbed onto their stations to stay standing. "Shields holding at 80%, called Ji-woo. "That was a strong hit." "Should we fire back?" asked Dae-hyun, his finger hovering over the weapon's controls. Junho raised his hand. "Wait. That wasn't their full power. They're testing us, seeing what we can take." He straightened his uniform and stood tall. "Hana, open all communication channels. Broadcast on all frequencies." The captain faced the main view screen showing the alien ship. "This is Captain Junho Park of Earth's vessel Dauntless. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if needed. We want to talk, not fight." For several long seconds, there was only silence. The bridge crew held their breath. Then a strange, crackling sound filled the room. "Humans," said a deep voice in perfect Earth language. "We are the Verax Collective. We have scanned your weapons. They are interesting. We will talk." Junho looked at his first officer, Subin. Her eyebrows went up in surprise. "They speak our language," she whispered. "They've been watching us for a while then," Junho replied quietly. Then louder he said, "We welcome the chance to meet. Would you like to send representatives to our ship, or should we come to yours?" Another pause, shorter this time. "Neither. We will meet in neutral space. Prepare a small transport ship with no more than 5 of your kind. We will do the same. There is a small moon of the 6th planet in this system. We will meet on its surface in 6 of your Earth hours." The communication ended abruptly. Junho turned to his crew. "Well, it seems we have a meeting to prepare for." "Captain," said Security Chief Hyun-ki, his voice serious, "this could be a trap." "Yes, it could," Junho agreed. "But it's also the best chance we have for peaceful contact. If we refuse, we might start a war humanity isn't ready for." He looked around at his crew, people he had trained with and trusted with his life. "Subin, you'll stay here and command the Dauntless. If anything happens to us, your orders are to return to Earth and warn them." Subin nodded. though her eyes showed she didn't like the idea of leaving her captain. Taewon, Hana, Hyunki, you'll come with me, Junho continued. And we need one more. Dr. Minji, I think. We might need medical knowledge. 4 hours. Later, the small shuttle was ready. Captain Junho checked his team's equipment one last time. No weapons, he reminded them. The Virax agreed to come unarmed, and we will do the same. But Captain, Hyunki protested, standard protocol. This isn't a standard situation, Junho cut him off. We're making history today. Let's try not to begin humanity's story among the stars with guns pointed at our new neighbors. The shuttle bay doors opened, revealing the vastness of space. As their small ship left the safety of the Dauntless, Junho couldn't help but think about all the science fiction stories he had read as a child. In some, aliens came as friends, in others, as conquerors. Which would the Virax be? The small moon was gray and lifeless, with thin air that humans couldn't breathe. They all wore special suits that protected them and helped them talk to each other. Their shuttle landed in a flat area next to some large rocks. Not far away, a strange-looking craft touched down. It was smaller than they expected, with the same purple metal as the big ship. Remember, Junho said as they prepared to exit their shuttle, we represent all of humanity now. Whatever happens here will affect Earth's future for generations. The door opened with a hiss. Captain Junho Park stepped onto the surface of the moon, the first human to meet an alien race face to face. From the other ship, 5 tall figures emerged. They walked on 2 legs but looked nothing like humans. Their bodies were covered in something like a hard shell, shimmering with colors that changed as they moved. They had 4 arms each, and their heads had no faces, just a cluster of small glowing spots that might have been eyes. The aliens stopped a few meters away. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Junho stepped forward, his hand raised in greeting. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome you, he said clearly. The tallest alien moved forward. When it spoke, the sound came from somewhere in its chest. We are the Virax. Your weapons worry us. Your ship carries enough power to destroy worlds. Why does a species just beginning to explore space need such things? Junho hadn't expected this direct question. He chose his words carefully. We built them for protection, not conquest. Space is unknown to us. We prepared for dangers. The alien's lights flickered rapidly. Interesting. Most species build such weapons to take, not to defend. Junho felt a glimmer of hope. Then perhaps we can learn from each other. That is why we're here. The aliens seemed to consider this. Perhaps. Or perhaps you hide your true nature. We will see, humans. We will see. As the strange meeting continued, neither side knew that this day would change not just Earth, but the entire galaxy forever. And it all began because humans had built weapons that scared the stars, but chose not to use them. 2 weeks had passed since the humans first met the Virax aliens. The Dauntless stayed in orbit around the small moon while talks continued. Captain Junho sat in his private room, looking at reports on a screen. He rubbed his tired eyes. There had been 5 more meetings with the Virax. Each time they asked more questions about Earth's weapons. They seemed friendly, but something felt wrong. The door made a soft sound. Come in, said Junho. Ambassador Kyungmi walked in. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. Earth had sent her to help with the alien. Talks. You look worried, Captain, she said, sitting down across from him. Junho nodded. I am. The Virax keep asking about our weapons, but they tell us almost nothing about themselves. Kyungmi sipped from a cup of hot tea. I noticed that too. They ask and ask, but never answer. What do you think they really want? Junho asked. Before she could answer, the door opened again. Science Officer Taewon rushed in, his face showing worry. Captain, Ambassador, I found something strange, he said, his words coming fast. The Virax ship is sending secret messages to somewhere far away. Junho sat up straight. Can you tell what they're saying? Taewon placed a small screen on the desk. Only parts of it. They talk about human weapons and something called conquest potential. They also mention a subjugation fleet that should be made ready. The room went quiet. Kyung-mi's face turned serious. Subjugation. That means to take control by force. They're not here for peace, Junho said softly. They're checking if Earth would be easy to conquer. Taewon nodded. And they're calling for more ships? Junho stood up and walked to the window. From here he could see the huge Verax ship floating in space. It looked peaceful, but now he knew better. If they bring a fleet, we don't have enough ships to fight them, he said. The Dauntless is Earth's only deep space warship. What can we do? Asked Kyung-mi. Junho turned back to them, his mind working fast. We need to make them think twice about attacking us. If they fear our weapons, let's give them more reason to fear them. But without starting a war, added Kyung-mi. Exactly, said Junho. Taewon, I need you to work with Engineer Ji-woo. Can you make our Helios array look more powerful than it really is? Taewon thought for a moment. Yes, I think so. We can change the energy signature it gives off. Make it look like it has 10 times more power. Good. And Security Chief Hyun-ki will arrange some weapons tests where the Verax can see them. The next 3 days were busy. Taewon and Ji-woo worked day and night on the Helios array. Hyun-ki set up tests of Earth's smallest weapons, but in ways that made them look very impressive. The crew fired missiles at empty space, making sure the Verax sensors would pick up the explosions. Each time they used a trick to make the blast look bigger than it was. On the 4th day the plan worked. The Verax sent an urgent message asking for a special meeting. Captain Junho, Ambassador Kyung-mi, and 2 security officers met with the Verax leader in the meeting room of the Dauntless. The alien called itself Emissary. It was taller than the others, with a shell that seemed to shine with green and blue colors. Your weapons tests have been noted, said Emissary. Its voice box made the words sound flat and cold. We did not know humans had such power. Junho kept his face calm. We test our systems regularly. Standard procedure. Of course, said Emissary. The Verax Collective has decided to offer you something important. We propose an alliance between our peoples. Kyung-mi smiled politely. We are interested in peaceful relations. More than just peace, said Emissary. We would share our knowledge of space travel and star maps. In return, you would share your weapons technology. There it was. The real reason for all the friendly talks. That is a generous offer, said Junho carefully. But our defense systems are not available for sharing at this time. The lights on. Emissary's head flickered rapidly. It might have been surprise or anger. Perhaps a smaller exchange then. It suggested. Allow us to study just one of your quantum displacement devices. Junho and Kyung-mi looked at each other. This was the trap they had been expecting. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Junho replied firmly. However, we are happy to discuss sharing information about space travel, plants, animals, or art. The meeting ended with tension in the air. As the Verax left the Dauntless, Kyung-mi turned to Junho. They're going to try to take our weapons. By force, aren't they? Junho nodded. Yes, and soon. They want our technology before their fleet arrives. What's our plan? She asked. We'll be ready, said Junho. But we'll be careful. No one dies if we can help it. That night, Junho called his top officers to the meeting room. Taewon, Ji-woo, Hyun-ki, Subin, and Hana sat around the table. He explained what they had learned. The Verax will likely try to board our ship and take what they want, he said. We need to be ready. Should we leave? Asked Subin. Return. To Earth? Junho shook his head. If we run, they'll follow, and their main fleet is still coming. We need to solve this here. Hyun-ki, the security chief, spoke up. We've been preparing, Captain. I've moved guards to all important areas, and I have a plan for non-deadly traps near the weapon storage. Good, said Junho. Remember, we want to capture, not kill. The Verax need to see that humans are different. We don't destroy when we don't have to. Engineer Ji-woo raised her hand. Captain, I've been thinking about their technology. It's advanced, but not as advanced as they want us to believe. What do you mean? Asked Junho. Their ship is big and impressive, said Jiwoo. But when I study their energy readings, they're not that much ahead of us. They're putting on a show trying to look more powerful than they are. Junho thought about this. So they want our weapons because they're actually afraid of us. Jiwoo nodded. I think so. Then our plan might work even better than we hoped, said Junho. They already fear us. When they see we can stop them, without killing them, they may fear us even more. The meeting ended and everyone went to prepare. Junho stayed behind, looking at the star map on the screen. Somewhere out there, a fleet of alien ships was coming. Everything would depend on what happened in the next few days. We will show them, he said quietly to himself. Humans can be strong without being cruel. That is our real power. Little did he know how important those words would become. The attack came during what was supposed to be the 7th meeting between humans and the Verax. Captain Junho had been waiting for it. The night before, he had trouble sleeping. He felt that something was about to happen. All stations, stay alert today, he told his crew that morning. I think the Verax will make their move soon. The day started normally. The Verax sent a message asking to continue talks about cultural exchange. They suggested meeting on the Dauntless this time, which made Junho even more suspicious. They want to come aboard our ship willingly, he told Security Chief Hyun-ki. That way we let them in ourselves. Hyun-ki nodded. All security teams are in position, Captain. Everyone knows what to do. At the agreed time, a small Verax shuttle approached the Dauntless. On the screens, Junho watched 5 Verax representatives board his ship. Ambassador Kyungmi went to meet them. Welcome aboard the Dauntless, she said with a smile. We have prepared the meeting room for our discussions. The lead Verax, who called itself Emissary, made a gesture that might have been a bow. We thank you for your hospitality. As they walked toward the meeting room, Junho watched from the bridge. Something felt wrong. The Verax seemed too calm, too ready. Suddenly, all the lights on the ship flickered. The screens went dark for a second before coming back on. What was that? Junho asked sharply. Officer Hana turned from her station. Captain, the Verax ship just hit us with some kind of energy pulse. It was aimed at our power systems. Emergency. Protocols now, ordered Junho. He was not surprised. This was the attack they had been waiting for. The ship's alarm began to sound. A red light flashed on all decks. Captain, called Officer Daehyun from the weapons station. Sensors show a second Verax shuttle approaching. It's coming fast and not answering our calls. Where is it heading? Asked Junho. Looks like Deck 4, near the weapons storage area. Junho nodded grimly. Just as we thought. Hyun-ki, are your teams in position? Yes, Captain, came Hyun-ki's voice over the comm. We're ready. The second Verax shuttle attached itself to the side of the Dauntless. There was a loud noise as it cut through the outer hull. Intruder alert, Deck 4, reported Hyun-ki. They're breaking in near the weapons storage. 12 Verax in armored suits. At the same time, in the meeting room, the 5 Verax representatives suddenly pulled out hidden weapons. Stay where you are, ordered Emissary to Kyungmi and the 2 human guards. This is now under our control. But the humans were ready. Hidden panels in the walls opened and a pale blue gas filled the room. The Verax tried to reach for their face masks, but they were too slow. Within seconds, they fell to the floor unconscious but alive. Meeting room secure, reported one of the guards to Junho. The ambassador is safe. 5 Verax captured, all alive. On Deck 4, things were more complicated. The 12 Verax boarders were in full battle armor. They moved quickly through the corridors, heading straight for the weapons storage. They know exactly where they're going, said Hyun-ki over the comm. They must have studied our ship plans. Junho wasn't surprised. Stay with the plan, Chief. No deadly force unless absolutely necessary. The Verax reached the main corridor leading to the weapons storage. Suddenly, hidden panels in the floor opened. A sticky foam sprayed up, catching 3 of the Verax and holding them in place. The others kept moving. They reached a sealed door and one of them placed a cutting device on it. "They're trying to cut through door A," reported Hyun-ki. "Activating countermeasure 2. Inside the ceiling above the Verax, small devices dropped down. They made a high-pitched sound that the humans couldn't hear, but the Verax could. The aliens dropped their tools and grabbed at their heads in pain. "Sound weapons effective," said Hyun-ki. 4 more Verax disabled. The remaining 5 pushed forward, reaching the final door to the weapons storage. Here, Hyun-ki and his security team were waiting. They had stun weapons ready. "Surrender now," Hyun-ki called out. "You are surrounded." The Verax leader, who wore a red stripe on its armor, stepped forward. "Humans, you cannot win. Give us your weapons technology and we will let your ship leave safely." "That's not going to happen," said Hyun-ki calmly. "Please put down your weapons. We don't want to hurt." "You!" The Verax leader made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You cannot hurt us in these armored suits. Your stun weapons are useless." Hyun-ki smiled slightly. "We know. That's why we changed the air system in this section." The Verax suddenly realized the air around them had changed color slightly. A pale yellow gas was filling the corridor. "What is this?" demanded the leader. "A special gas that melts your type of armor," explained Hyun-ki. "It won't hurt you, but in about 10 seconds, those fancy suits will start to fall apart." The Verax looked at each other. Then, seeing no other choice, they dropped their weapons. "Wise decision," said Hyun-ki. "Now let's go see the captain." Within 1 hour, all 17 Verax invaders had been captured. None were seriously hurt. Junho ordered them all placed in a large holding area that had been prepared ahead of time. The captain went to see them, taking Ambassador Kyung-mi with him. The Verax sat in groups, looking confused. Their armor had been removed, showing their strange bodies with 4 arms and hard outer shells. Junho approached the one called Emissary, and another with a red stripe who seemed to be the boarding team leader. "I am Captain Junho Park," he said simply. "You attacked my ship and endangered my crew." "Why?" The red-striped Verax spoke first. "I am Sentinel, commander of Verax Special Forces. We came for your weapons technology as ordered by the collective." "You could have traded for knowledge," said Kyung-mi. "We offered peaceful exchange." Emissary's headlights flickered rapidly. "The collective does not trade for superior weapons. We take them." Junho looked at them calmly. "You had enough firepower to destroy our ship. Why didn't you just attack us directly?" "Weapons damage would risk destroying the technology we seek," said Sentinel. "A boarding action was cleaner." Junho nodded. "I see. Well, you will remain our guests for now. You will be treated well. Food and water suitable for your kind will be provided." As Junho turned to leave, Sentinel called out to him. "Wait. You could have killed us all. Your weapons were sufficient. Why didn't you?" Junho looked back at the alien. "Because that's not who we are. We defend, but we don't destroy unnecessarily." The Verax's eyes flickered, and what the translation software said was confusion. "But your weapons," Sentinel began, "are for defense," Junho finished. "Power doesn't have to be used to be effective." As Junho and Kyung-mi left the holding area, they met Taewon in the hallway. The science officer looked worried. "Captain, long-range sensors have detected multiple ships approaching. A fleet of at least 20 vessels, all similar to our visitor here, but larger." Junho took a deep breath. "The subjugation fleet is here. How long until they reach us?" "Less than 12 hours, said Taewon. Junho straightened his uniform. "Inform Earth Command, then tell all crew to get some rest while they can. We'll need everyone at their best." As he walked back to the bridge, Junho knew the real test was still to come. The Verax fleet arrived 12 hours later. 20 large ships surrounded the Dauntless, each one bigger than the first Verax ship they had met. The human vessel looked tiny beside them. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Junho stood calmly. His crew worked at their stations, faces serious but not afraid. "Are they talking to each other?" Junho asked. Communications Officer Hana nodded. "Yes, Captain. Their ships are sending lots of messages back and forth. I think they're surprised. Their attack team hasn't reported back." "Good," said Junho. Let them wonder a bit longer. The large view screen showed the Virax ships. They had formed a circle around the Dauntless, cutting off any escape path. Their weapons are powered up but not aimed yet, reported Dae-hyun from the weapons station. They could destroy us in seconds if they all fired at once. Ambassador Kyung-mi stood beside the captain. What's your plan, Junho? The same as before, he replied. Show them we're different. The Virax only understand power and fear. We need to show them another way. The main screen flashed and a message came through. Human vessel, said a harsh voice. You have captured Virax personnel. This is an act of war. Surrender your weapons and your ship immediately, or be destroyed. Junho took a deep breath. Open a channel, Hana. When the connection was ready, Junho spoke clearly. This is Captain Junho Park. Your people boarded our vessel with hostile intent after pretending to engage in peaceful talks. Despite this betrayal, they remain unharmed. I invite your leaders to come aboard and see for themselves before we discuss terms. There was a long pause before the answer came. Agreed. Prepare to receive our shuttle. Any tricks will result in the destruction of your vessel. After the communication ended, Dae-hyun looked up from his station. Captain, they're moving their ships to surround us completely. If this goes badly... It won't, Junho said with quiet confidence. Because we're about to show them something they don't expect from a species they believe to be dangerous. Hour later, a large Virax shuttle docked with the Dauntless. 5 Virax emerged, led by the tallest alien any of the humans had seen yet. Its shell was black and shiny like polished stone, with patterns of red that seemed to move like flowing lava. Security Chief Hyun-ki and his team escorted the Virax delegation to the conference room, where Captain Junho and Ambassador Kyung-mi waited. Junho had chosen to meet them here rather than on the bridge to show this was a diplomatic meeting, not a military one. The tall Virax entered first. Its head almost touched the ceiling. I am Nexus, it announced in a deep voice. Supreme Commander of the Virax Collective. I will inspect our personnel. Then you will surrender your vessel and weapons. Junho remained calm. Your personnel are not prisoners, Nexus. They are guests who entered our ship without permission. You may speak with them, and then we will discuss how to move forward together. Nexus made a sound that the translation software didn't catch. Take me to them now. Junho nodded to Hyun-ki, who led Nexus and 2 of his guards to the large room, where the captured Virax were being held. The room had been set up with comfortable places to sit and rest. Food and water suitable for Virax biology were available. None of the Virax were tied up or locked in cells. When Nexus entered, the captured Virax stood up in respect. Emissary and Sentinel approached their leader. Report, demanded Nexus. Sentinel spoke first. Supreme Commander, our mission failed. The humans were prepared for our attack. They captured us using non-lethal methods. Non-lethal? Nexus's head. Lights blinked rapidly. Explain. They used gas, sound, and special substances to disable us, explained Sentinel. They could have killed us easily but chose not to. Emissary added. And since our capture, they have treated us well. No torture, no threats. They even provide food and comfortable places to rest. Nexus turned to look at Captain Junho, who had followed them in. Is this some trick? Some way to make us lower our guard? No trick, said Junho simply. This is how we treat people, even those who have attacked us. We believe in peace first, violence only when there is no other choice. Nexus seemed confused. You had our people at your mercy. In your position, we would have executed them as an example. That's the difference between us, said Junho. We don't think that way. After speaking with more of the captured Virax, Nexus returned to the conference room with Junho and Kyung-mi. Something had changed in the alien commander's manner. He seemed less certain, more thoughtful. Your species is strange, Nexus stated. Our report said humans were dangerous, having created powerful weapons despite your limited experience in space. Yet you show mercy where most species would show force. Kyung-mi leaned forward. Perhaps your reports were incomplete. Humanity has known war. but we have also known peace. We have learned that true strength is not always about showing power, but knowing when not to use it. Junho nodded. We built our weapons for defense, Nexus, not for conquest. Nexus's headlights flickered in what the translation software now identified as deep thought. This idea is not familiar to the collective. In our history, those with better weapons always use them to control others. Then perhaps we can learn from each other, Junho suggested, starting with the truth about why you came to our solar system. Nexus was quiet for a moment, then seemed to make a decision. The collective has ruled this part of space for 10,000 years. We find those who might become threats and control them early. When our long-range scans detected your energy signatures, we believed humans would become dangerous if not stopped immediately. And now? Asked Kyungmi. Now I am uncertain, admitted Nexus. Your technology is impressive, but your restraint is perhaps more powerful. This is not something the collective has seen before. Junho saw his chance. Then let us introduce you to a new idea. Alliance through respect rather than fear, or the first time Nexus's posture relaxed slightly. I will consider this proposal. Later, as Nexus prepared to return to his ship, he turned to Junho. One question, human, if we had not accepted your invitation and had simply attacked with our fleet, what would you have done? Junho looked the alien commander in the eyes. We would have defended ourselves with all necessary force, but we would have continued to seek peace even as we fought. Nexus studied him for a long moment. I believe you would have. And that, Captain Park, is why the collective must rethink its understanding of power. After the Verax delegation left, Junho returned to the bridge. His crew watched him expectantly. What happens now, Captain? Asked First Officer Subin. Now we wait, said Junho. Nexus has much to think about. The Verax have lived one way for thousands of years. Change will not come easily. For 3 days, the Verax fleet remained in position around the Dauntless. There were no communications, no movements. The humans waited patiently. On the 4th day, a message came from Nexus. Captain Park, the collective has considered your words and actions. We propose a true diplomatic exchange, not as conqueror and subject but as equals. Your concept of power through restraint deserves further study. Junho smiled at his crew. It seems we've started something new here. Kyungmi nodded. They feared our weapons, but it was our mercy that changed their minds. Little did they know then how this small moment would shake the foundations of power across the entire galaxy. 1 year had passed since the standoff between the Dauntless and the Verax fleet. A new ship from Earth, the UES Concordia, approached the Verax home planet called Nexara. This ship was bigger than the Dauntless and was built for diplomacy, not war. On the bridge stood Admiral Junho Park, now the head of Earth's space diplomatic team, and Ambassador Kyungmi Ri, now Earth's main representative to the newly formed Space Alliance. Nervous? Kyungmi asked, fixing her formal uniform. She wore a special blue sash that showed her important position. Junho smiled a little. Hopeful but careful. The Verax have kept their word so far. The changes over the past year had been amazing. After Nexus returned to the Verax fleet with news of humanity's unusual mix of strong weapons and kind behavior, the Verax leadership group had been thrown into confusion. For thousands of years, their plan had been simple: find possible threats and control them before they became too strong. Humanity had broken that pattern by showing that having powerful weapons did not mean they wanted to attack others. We are approaching Nexara main space station, announced Lieutenant Ji-hoon, the pilot of the Concordia. They are guiding us to the visitor docking area. The welcome on Nexara was not what the human team had expected. Instead of a military display, they were greeted by a group that included not just Verax military leaders, but also scientists, thinkers, and cultural representatives. Nexus, now with the title of Chief of Diplomatic Relations, led the welcome event. Admiral Park, Ambassador Ri, honored humans from Earth. Your visit here marks a historic new beginning for the collective. The formal meetings gave way to a diplomatic talk where Nexus explained the full impact of humanity's introduction to space politics. For 10,000 years, the collective kept order through control, Nexus explained to the gathered representatives of both species. We believed this was the only way. Humanity showed us another option. A civilization can have advanced weapons, yet choose peace over control. Taiwan, now Earth's chief science officer for relations with aliens, leaned toward Junho. They have completely changed their government system. The military leaders now share power with science and cultural leaders. Later, in a private meeting with Earth's leadership team, Nexus shared even more. Since our meeting, 3 controlled species have been given freedom within the collective. We are trying your idea of working together as equals. Kyungmi raised an eyebrow. And how has this experiment been accepted? With resistance from those who like the old ways, Nexus admitted, but also with surprising support from many groups. Work and science progress have increased by 30% in star systems, where we've tried shared leadership. Junho nodded, thoughtfully. Change is rarely easy, but often needed for growth. Nexus made a sound that humans now recognized as agreement. Indeed. Which brings me to our proposal. The Verax leader activated a display showing a distant part of space. This area has long been avoided by the collective. It is controlled by the Draconis Empire, a species that matches even our former military strength. They have watched our interaction with humanity and are worried. They think we've formed a military alliance, Junho guessed. Exactly, Nexus confirmed. They have increased their border patrols and weapons production. We believe fighting may be unavoidable unless we can show them an alternative. Kyungmi looked at Junho. You want us to help you show them the same thing you learned from us? Yes, Nexus said simply. The galaxy has operated on principles of control for too long. Humanity's approach, power balanced with mercy, has shaken those foundations. We believe it can change more than just the collective. As the summit ended days later, a formal alliance was established between Earth and the Verax collective, but it went beyond typical military or trade agreements. It included plans for cultural exchange, science working together, and a shared promise to approach other species with talks before military action. 3 months after the Nexara summit, the first test of the new alliance came. A Draconis battle group crossed into Verax space, clearly looking to test their defenses. Instead of the military response they expected, they found a small group of Verax and human ships waiting. The humans used their advanced communication systems to open a direct channel to the Draconis leaders. We come with an invitation, not a threat, said Ambassador Kyungmi in that first tense meeting. The old ways of the galaxy are changing. We offer a new path forward. The Draconis were suspicious, but curious. Like the Verax before them, they had never encountered a species that had the power to fight but chose to talk instead. 6 months later, representatives from Earth, the Verax Collective, and the Draconis Empire met on a neutral space station. It was the first step toward what would eventually become the Galactic Concord, an alliance of dozens of species built on respect rather than fear. On the return journey to Earth after that historic meeting, Junho stood at the window of his private room on the Concordia, watching the stars go by. Did you ever imagine this outcome when the Dauntless first met the Verax? Kyungmi asked, joining him at the window. Junho shook his head. Never. I was just trying to keep my crew alive and protect Earth. And instead you changed how species interact across the galaxy, she said with a small smile. Because when they expected us to destroy, we chose to understand. It wasn't just me, Junho replied. It was all of us. Humanity decided long ago that having power doesn't mean you have to use it to hurt others, that weapons can protect without being used to control. Kyungmi nodded. They feared our weapons. But it was our mercy that shook the galaxy, Junho finished. 5 years later, Admiral Junho Park stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Concord. Representatives from 27 different species filled the room. Some looked almost human. Others were as different from humans as it was possible to be. Some breathed air, others water. Still others gases that would kill a human in seconds. Yet all had found a way to work together. A young officer approached Junho. "Admiral, the opening ceremony is about to begin." Junho nodded. He was old now, his hair fully gray. Soon he would retire and let younger people carry on the work. As he walked to the speaker's platform, he thought about how it all began. One small ship at the edge of the solar system. One decision to show mercy instead of force. Sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest effects. Junho stepped up to speak. His words would be translated into 27 different languages, would be heard on thousands of worlds. "Friends and allies," he began. "We gather today not as conquerors or conquered, but as equals. Not because we feared each other's weapons, but because we found the courage to show mercy." As he spoke, ships from all 27 species flew, in formation overhead. Once they might have been enemies. Now they flew together, guardians of a peace built not on fear, but on something much stronger. Somewhere in the crowd, Nexus listened. The former Verax military commander now led the collective's diplomatic corps. Beside him stood representatives of species that once would have been conquered. Now they were partners. Perhaps, Nexus thought, watching the human admiral speak, this was the greatest power of all. Not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to create instead. The end.